Good afternoon. It has been the privilege of my life to serve as leader of the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party these past nearly 8 years. This has been a remarkable time in politics, and I will always be thankful for the opportunity to have a front seat as Scottish political history was being made. I am so proud of the teams that we have built as a party at Holyrood, at Westminster and in council chambers across the country. Proud, too, of the work that we've done to reach out to all communities in Scotland, north and south, rural or urban, and after some fallow decades, to prove ourselves a truly national party once again. But for me, electoral successes, while undoubtedly important, pale in significance compared to the vital role that our party undertook as part of the campaign to keep Scotland in the United Kingdom at the independence referendum. It was, without doubt, the most important contribution of my working life, and I believe will remain so. It is therefore with a heavy heart that this morning I wrote to the chairman of the Scottish Conservative Party to tender my resignation. I explained the changes, both professional and personal, that have prompted this decision. You all know, and I have never sought to hide, the conflict that I have felt over Brexit. Despite that conflict, I have attempted to chart a course for our party which recognises and respects the referendum results, while seeking to maximise opportunities and mitigate risks for key Scottish businesses and sectors. I hope and believe that industries as diverse as our fishing fleets and our whisky producers have felt well represented by the Scottish Conservatives during this time. The biggest change, however, has been starting a family. And I cannot thank my colleagues, and especially Jackson Carlaw, enough for their generosity and support to both Jen and myself following the birth of baby Finn. It made my return to work in April as smooth as I believe was possible, while the flexibility shown by colleagues since then has allowed me these last few months to continue operating successfully in my role as leader. However, as I look to the future, I see the Scottish election due in 2021 and a credible threat from our opponents to force a general election before then. Having led our party through 7 national elections and 2 referenda, I know the efforts, the hours and the travel required to fight such campaigns successfully. And I have to be honest that where the idea of getting on the roads to fight 2 elections in 20 months would once have fired me up, the threat of spending hundreds of hours away from my home and family now fills me with dread. And that is no way to lead. Additionally, I fear that, having tried to be a good leader over the years, I have proved a poor daughter, sister, partner and friend. The party and my work has always come first, often at the expense of commitments to loved ones. The arrival of my son means I now make a different choice. I need to thank the amazing people that work in Scottish Conservative Central Office and my own parliamentary team. They really do spin straw into gold. My intention is to continue in my role as the MSP for Edinburgh Central until 2021. I will always be thankful for the opportunity to serve and to the amazing teams that I've worked alongside. And of course, I will continue to support the party, the Prime Minister and Scotland's place in our United Kingdom from the backbenches and beyond. In terms of final thoughts, I believe that 2 referenda have split Scotland and indeed opinion in the UK, and I am convinced that referenda should be used to affirm public opinion, but not as a way for political leaders to fail to lead. Looking at the division in our politics, I make this plea. The vast majority of people who go into politics do so for the right reasons, to improve their communities and their countries. And I believe we should always remember that. Respect is what is missing from our debates. And without respect, you cannot have understanding and you cannot unite, which is what we in Scotland and in the UK need to do. Thank you very much, and I'll take some of your questions.
Disrespected you, and has he disrespected the Scottish
Brian Taylor, BBC.
Brian Taylor from BBC Scotland. Thanks very much indeed for your statement. I appreciate and acknowledge the point you make there about it being both personal and professional, but if I may stick to the political for a second, to be very clear about the personal reasons. On the subject of the political problems that you face, do you think, when you look at the pursuit of a possible no-deal Brexit, that the UK government's policy with regard to the European Union is wise and sensible?
Well, in terms of the politics and the political colliding, I'm, as you know, about to marry an Irish woman, and there's a very famous Irish saying that if you want to get somewhere, you wouldn't necessarily start from here. I think we had 3 golden opportunities to support a deal. I think that the people right now who are saying they would do anything to avoid no deal had a goal gaping in front of them 3 times and they hit the ball over the bar. And for all the elaborate plans of bringing down governments and installing, I don't know, Ken Clarke and Harriet Harman on job shares as Prime Minister, the simplest way to avoid no deal is to vote for a deal. And I've never served in the House of Commons. I'm not an aficionado of Erskine May, but my understanding is you can't bring back legislation that's already been voted down. So if it requires a new Queen's speech to bring back a deal, what I would say is, and what I would urge is, to colleagues who want to avoid no deal, vote for a deal. You've had 3 opportunities. You blew every one of them. Don't blow a 4th. I know the Prime Minister is seeking to get a deal. I've had long conversations with him on this point, and I believe him when he says that he's seeking to get a deal. And please, for those people who are trying to avoid no deal, make it clear now that if a deal comes back to the House of Commons, you will vote for it, and let the EU hear you say that you will vote for it, so that they understand that there is a reason for them to reopen negotiations.
Ruth, if you can't stand 4 square
behind Boris Johnson, why should the public?
Peter Smith from ITV News. You've obviously got a lot of personal reasons. There are some political reasons in there. Would you like to deliver a message directly to Boris Johnson today to tell him what you think his current Brexit path is going to do for Scotland's place in the UK?
I'm happy to give a public message to him. It's the same as the message I conveyed to him yesterday when we had a conversation last night. Prime Minister, get us a deal in the European Union. And what I say to people that say they want to avoid no deal is what I've just said. If the Prime Minister brings a deal back to the House of Commons, as I know he is trying to do, for God's sake, get behind it. And this time, at the 4th time of asking, vote for it. Yes.
If you can't stand 4 square behind Boris Johnson, why should the Scottish public, and indeed the British public, and tell me this, has he weakened the Union? And in stepping down, have you?
I've made clear, both in my statement and in the questions I've already answered, that I stand absolutely 4 square behind the Prime Minister's attempts to bring back a deal that can pass in the House of Commons. And I ask my colleagues to pass them too. And what I would say to him, and I've as well as the letter that I've published that I wrote to the chairman of the Scottish Party, I've also written a formal letter to the Prime Minister as well, and it's up to his office if they choose to publish it or not. I'm happy for him to do so, where I've personally thanked him for his commitment to facing down another second independence referendum, to securing Scotland's place in the Union, and to, in his short time that we've worked together since his election as Prime Minister, to his positivity, enthusiasm, his understanding in terms of an engagement with Scottish events, but also his understanding that warm words often aren't enough. They have to be backed up by resource as well. I'll take one more question.
You accused the Leave campaign and Boris Johnson of not telling the truth during the EU referendum campaign. Do you now believe that those people who are running the government, including Boris Johnson, are being honest about the prospects of a no deal, about their reasons for suspending Parliament? And can you, in good faith, defend the position of the Tory party now under Boris Johnson?
Well, look, there has been a lot that has been written about my relationship with the Prime Minister. I went down to Downing Street to meet him last week in a private meeting. I stared him right in the eye. I asked him outright, look, I need to know, are you actually trying to get a deal or not? And he categorically assured me that he was. He believes that his efforts in Biarritz has helped open the door a crack. I know that what would help further would be for people who want to avoid no deal to come out and say that if a deal's brought back to Parliament, that they would back it at this term in the way that they have failed to do 3 times already. So I want him to get that deal. I believe that's what he and his government are working towards, and I support him in that effort. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, not just for today, but for the last 8 years. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.